Well, if you think I look a little bit tired this morning, it's because I am. You see, I've been carrying this suitcase for 40 years. Yes, it was 40 years ago that I got off the train from college with this very same suitcase. And I went down to my dad's life insurance agency for my first job interview. I had no idea what I was suited for, or even how to look into the subject. I was totally inexperienced and without any track record. Fortunately, the selection system was pretty simple back then. Yeah, it revolved more around your health than it did your ability. And since I could breathe, I was in. Yes, I was in, okay, but you say, hey, wait a minute, Norb. That doesn't make any sense. You got no credentials. Well, worse than that, I'd be one of just a few agents at an agency selling for a tiny life insurance company with no training program. But I didn't know the difference. I was just looking for a job. So what's that got to do with the suitcase? Well, it relates because, you see, this suitcase and I have always been pals. We started from scratch together. And when I've got it with me, I'm in business. Over the years, I've been putting things in here that have helped me build my business. Things that I got excited about, things that I thought would make me better. But now, because I've been around so long and I've seen so many things, why, this baby's getting heavier and heavier. It's almost more work carrying it around than it is running my business. Maybe it's time to do as my friend and author Dick Leiter would suggest, to repack my bag and to lighten the load. Let's take a look in here. Yeah, let's take a little look, Norb. Ooh, what a mess. Oh, look at this. Now, here's an old light bulb. I've had it for 40 years, and it's never burned out. You see, it's fueled with ideas. And that's what I was taught to sell when I first started out. It doesn't cost money to buy an idea. These were sales ideas that were designed to improve people's lives. And as long as we had a good idea, we had an act, a reason to call on people. We were ready to go. Well, now, 40 years later, we still use this approach at our office, and it still works. And you know something? We never run out of ideas. Of course, as good as the idea is, you got to use it. Like they say, ideas are a dime a dozen, but the people that put them to work are priceless. Yeah, Norb, now let's see what else we got. Oh, look at this. Here's an old treasure of mine. This is the first thing I used when I went in the life insurance business. Yeah. Yeah, it's great. It's a canned sales talk. Called You'll Earn a Fortune. And I was told to memorize it and go out and give it and give it and give it. Did you ever stop to realize that you'll earn a fortune between your first paycheck and your last? And on it went. I mean, this thing was powerful, and it really worked. Of course, like all good salespeople, I eventually gave it up. Yeah. Just before I went into my first slump. So why do I keep it with me if I don't use it anymore? Well, I guess I keep it because it taught me a lesson I don't ever want to forget, either as a salesman or as a general agent. You see, it succeeded because it put structure around an unstructured business. It was based on activity, getting referrals, openers, and closes. And now as I look around and I see other successful agents that have built big practices, I see that they're working on the exact same things. It's activity and accountability that really matters. And in our office, no matter what the concept, we need always be aware of the fact that we're in a sales business and we need to develop good selling habits. So let's see. Oh, yeah. Yeah. How would you like to have to go around looking like this all the time? Yeah, I used to look a little worse too, I guess, but you see, I used to be in hiding. I was afraid to come out because I thought that the way I did business was all wrong. I was having too much fun and it seemed so simple. I thought that to do it right, you had to have some big complicated system and it had to kind of hurt. I'd go to million-dollar roundtable meetings and conventions and I'd hear about how other people operated and I was intimidated. Oh, I was doing okay, but if anybody ever asked me how I did it, I'd just choke up. Well, then it happened to me. Just 2 years ago. It was the greatest year of my life. You see, I found out who I am. I went to a million-dollar roundtable meeting and I found out that I'm a lifestyle marketer. Yeah, had to go a long way to find that out. Suddenly I was free. I could walk down the street with my head up high. I had a title. Now I could see that the way I'd always operated, it was okay for me. It was okay to say I was in the life insurance business. In our city, there's all sorts of successful agents, and they all do it differently. Different marketing approaches, different prospecting methods, different cultures, and they're all okay for them. Now I could see that my way was okay for me. Only it was so much better now that I was industry endorsed. Yeah. Well, oh no. I gotta tell you, my face is a little bit red with embarrassment when I look at some of this stuff in here. I just got done saying how important it is to stick to the fundamentals through thick and through thin. Well, here's some mighty bad evidence that I haven't always succeeded. They always say that a salesman is the easiest sale. Well, here's living proof. Have you ever heard of Section 79? Yeah. And look at this one. Retired Lives Reserve. And look at this one. Minimum deposit. All tax-deductible life insurance. Like shooting fish in a barrel. All I had to do was change everything I was doing. And you know what? They changed the revenue ruling and I was out of business. Yeah, that was something. And look at this one. A breakout session on how to increase your sales through the marketing of limited partnerships. Oil, cattle, egg farms. I can't tell you how much money I put in those egg farms. This is all I got left. So, what happened here, and a few times along the way, is that I got caught up in a gimmick, a magic solution, a fad. I got off the track, but it'll never happen again. Oh, no, it'll never happen again, yeah. Yeah, that's what you said the last time, Norb. Well, speaking of the real deal, here is a picture of the great Ben Feldman. Yeah. He was such a great guy. He did so much for our industry. And you know, he was probably the biggest salesman our industry's ever had. But if you ever met Ben in person, you would say that he was only ordinary in appearance. And if you ever heard him talk, you'd notice that he talked with a lisp. And shy? Why, he was so shy that the first time I ever heard him talk at a $1 million roundtable meeting, he had to talk from behind a curtain. No fooling. So how did he make it so big? Well, I think if you listen to the things he talked about, you'd learn a lot about him. Ben talked about keeping it simple. He talked about contracts for time and money and discounted dollars. He talked about one-page illustrations and package sales. He talked about activity, openers and closes and prospecting and building momentum. Ben was always talking about fundamentals. And yet I can remember one time at a $1 million roundtable meeting when he stood up in front of everybody and he said that he was shooting for $100 million in sales in 1 year. And he made it. He was so big and yet so down to earth. I always figured that what was good enough for Ben ought to be good enough for me. I guess I wish I had a whole agency full of Ben Feldmans. A great guy. And here, yeah. Here's a picture of the great Tom Wolfe. Yeah. You heard him yesterday. He's a fabulous guy. He's done everything for our industry. And you know, he invented the capital needs analysis. Just a simple way of helping uncover people's life insurance needs. And it still works. Well, anyway, these are just two of many, many heroes that I have. I like to have heroes because they give me strength and they give me motivation. I kind of feel like they're my partners. You know, it's good to have heroes. And I carry them with me wherever I go. Well, speaking of carrying things around, yeah. Here's something I always carry with me when I go to a roundtable meeting. You just never know. You might get out of one of those breakout sessions early. Yeah. Well, over the years, I've played a lot of golf with my fellow roundtable attenders, and from the money that I've been losing to you, I feel like maybe I've been part of a special industry finance program. It's not been good. Well, I like to carry these babies with me, too, because they teach me a couple of other lessons I like to remember. Take a look at this. Now, here's an old wooden shafted club built in the 1920s. I mean, this baby is a relic. This is an old-timer. And over here, well, here's the most up-to-date club you're going to see anyplace. The burner bubble with a titanium shaft. This is a cutting-edge weapon. But as good as this club is, I just know that Tiger Woods could beat me bad with this old wooden shaft. Yeah, because it isn't the club that makes the player, it's the player that makes the club. Yeah. In our business, it isn't the market that makes a person succeed, it's the person. It isn't the product, it isn't the prospecting method, it's the person. It's always the person. There are no magic solutions. And speaking of the person, I think it's fair to say that everybody's swing is unique. How you get your job done may be completely different than somebody else's. But it's just nice to know that there's not just one way to do it. Yeah, let's see here now, Norm. Ooh. Yeah. Here's something I've been carrying around for quite a while. I'm sure most of you got one of these with you, too. It's pretty much standard equipment. Yeah. You should see the looks I get when I go through airport security with this thing. I mean, these guys think I'm a little bit loony, but we know different. In any event, I got to tell you, I've saved a bundle of money on this idea. You see, I got an agent in our office, and he's really a great guy, and I told him that if he made our President's Club, I'd give him a car. Well, of course, he made it, and I'm going to give him the car, but I want to keep him motivated. So I'm going to give it to him one piece at a time. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I told him that if he makes top of the table, I'd give him a Mercedes. I'm already started out on that one. Yeah. I don't know why. I like giving away cars. It's kind of nutty, but here's a picture of a whole car I gave to one of our guys when he hit age 35. Picked it up at the junkyard, decorated it, drove it to his house, and presented the keys. Paid $20 for the car. So what's the point? Well, the point is that obviously we like to run our office in a business-like way, and we try to have fun at the same time. We've got a criteria or standard that's pretty basic to our culture. It says that it's good business to have a good time. if you're having a good time, you can tell it, you can feel it. You know, this business ought to be fun. We figure that people that are having a good time are happy people, and happy people have a better chance of succeeding than those that aren't. Well, let's see here, Norb. Here's a real enforcer. Yeah. You talk about going through airport security. Pull out the bumper, you get a couple laughs, but to pull out the gun, and it's a little different, but this is the gun that I feel everybody's holding to my head. Did you ever have that uneasy feeling as a producer or as a manager that you should have all of the answers and come up with all of the solutions? Hey, Norb, where are we going? What's your vision? What about all this competition? What about the different compensation approaches and the alternative distribution systems and on and on? Are we going to make it, Norb? Are we going to survive? Well, all of this stuff makes me feel pretty uneasy. You'd think after 40 years I'd know better. So what do? Well, I try to dwell on the positive and keep a balance. Like the fact that in 1997 our industry paid out $148 billion to the public just in this country alone. And most of that was sold by agents. And what about all the help? Yeah. Sure, we ought to be proud of that. And what about all the help we get from MDRT with our sales and everything? It's terrific. And what about all the help and support we give each other? I mean, this is really a unique industry. For me, the bottom line is that our future is bright as long as we bring value to the table. People buy because we make ourselves a better product. Our products aren't whole life in term, they're people. And unless you build on people, you build on nothing. We're the people builders of our industry, and we're always going to have part of the future. As long as we can bring a personal relationship that the Charles Schwabs and the internets and the banks can't compete with. We can remove the gun from our head by just being successful professional life underwriters. There's no gun to our head as long as we just go out and do our job. Yeah. Yeah. Here is a whole outfit I used to wear. Suit 'em up, Norb. Yeah, I got the camouflage jacket, helmet. How's that? Infantry boots, entrenching tool, hand grenades. I used to wear all of this stuff and a lot more because, you see, I used to be a one-man army. Yeah. In our office, I did everything. I did the selling and the recruiting and the training, case preparation, personnel management, finances. I mean, I was busy. I gotta tell you, I was busy. I tell you, I was always doing something. The fact is, I was always fixing things and putting out fires. Yeah. Yeah, it was something. All things were going along pretty good, but as I look back now, I see that they could have been even better and with a lot less wear and tear. Over the years, the business seemed to get harder and harder, and I just wasn't having as much fun. I could see the old saying, the heroic manager is obsolete. That was me. I could see that what I needed to do was surround myself with other people whose talents complemented mine. Kind of a coalition of leaders who could work for a common cause. I needed to empower the people, get in the back seat and let them go. For me, I'm kind of an outside type of person. A market opener, a sales coach, personal producer. I'm not a great manager, but there are people who are. I learned from Dick Leiter that I'm my happiest when I do what I'm best at, when I focus on my strengths and I manage my weaknesses. I was so pleased to find out that there are people out there who like to do and that are good at doing the things I don't like to do and that I'm no good at. Suddenly I could see that I don't have to be a one-man army anymore. I was off the hook. It was great. Well, yeah. Here's a little souvenir I picked up on a recent trip. You'll never know how close I came to becoming an angel. Yeah. You know, life was going along pretty good for me, and then life happened. I guess you can kind of feel like you're ready for almost anything, but you never really know until you're tested. Well, a little while ago, I was playing squash with a buddy of mine, and suddenly I didn't feel so good, and down I went, dead. I mean, literally dead. Fortunately, the Lord wasn't ready for me, so he sent a doctor who was nearby at the health club, and he revived me, and wacko, I was breathing again. I tell you, I love to breathe. I tell you. That's the great stuff. Keep it up, Norb. Well, a few hours later, an angiogram showed I was all plugged up, and the next day, after a 7.5-hour operation in which they took my heart right out of my body, I had 4 new arteries. So there I was, laying in bed, having missed my first appointment in 40 years. Yeah, I couldn't even use the phone. They wouldn't let me, and I'm kind of jumpy. I could see that from now on, life was going to be different. You know, a lot of people ask me how I came out in my last squash match. Well, I got to tell you, I lost the match. But after seeing all this happen to me, my opponent bought a bundle of life insurance. Yeah, I tell you. Yeah, that was okay, but I can't keep doing that for sales. That is a tough way to go. Whew. So, anyway, my friends and my family, myself too, we just couldn't believe this could happen to me. After all, I've been in perfect shape, low cholesterol, everything, and yet there I was, just lucky to be alive. For the first time in my life, it wasn't business as usual. I wasn't in control that could make it happen. I was a dependent. All those questions kept going through my mind. Hey, Norb, if you had one more day to live, how would you live it? Or looking back on your life, Norb, what would you change? Well, suddenly this wasn't academic. This was the real deal. But this isn't one of those dramatic come-from-behind stories. No, the fact is that as I recovered, I just slowly went back to doing what I'd been doing right from the start. Only now, I began to understand some of the things that maybe I already knew, but now they were really in my heart. I could see that everything I had, even my life itself, it was all a gift from God. There wasn't anything I earned or deserved. It was a gift. And my friends and my family, my business associates, they were my whole life. They were a gift too. I could see that I wasn't indispensable, just one of millions of people. And yet, in my way, I was kind of special. What was special about me is that I have a few unique talents. We've all got them. And it's my job to use these talents. And for me, this business is the best place to do it the rest of my life, however long it might be. Now I could see that this business wasn't so much about how many plaques I could accumulate or how high up I could climb. It wasn't so much about how I end up as it is how I go through it. I could see that for me, the best part of the whole deal was the people part, working with my friends and my family, my clients, myself too. We're all people, and we'll never become extinct. So here I am, 40 years down the road. 40 years I've been carrying this suitcase and throwing stuff in here that I thought would make me better. And now as I kind of sort through it, I see that, well, maybe I don't really need it in here anymore. I was just the tool, and this stuff was just there to sharpen me. Knowing myself as I do anyway, I'd probably just fill it back up. But when I do, it would keep bringing me back to the same points. That I got to stick to the fundamentals and avoid the gimmicks, and I got to be myself. I got to recognize that I'm in a sales business and that people are my product, and I got to have fun. I got to find a way to use my talents and recognize that this whole thing, however long it lasts, it's all a gift from God. So I guess I'm ready to kind of start back out, and maybe I'll start in a little bit later this time and work my way back up. You know, yeah. I've been traveling this road for so long, and I've been with it with so many people in this room. I think probably that's the best part of this business, and hopefully we'll keep going together and maybe meet a few more of you along the way. It's been a great time for me, and God bless all of you.